Let's see, is it live? I can't tell. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. Hey, sorry for the delay. We are still waiting for people, but we're just gonna go ahead and get started. So.
You want me to record when you're going up?
Is that?
You want me to help you record when you're going up?
You on this?
Yeah.
Oh, this is just a live stream. Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
thought you-
yeah.
I
This
thought you
is
asked
just
me to help
constantly
you.
going. No. This I just need help holding. And then yeah. Okay, so let me.
We have a channel.
Yeah.
JW Diaries.
All right.
That's
There we go. Yeah.
You know, I'm so busy with my business. My wife just told me the channels,
Uh.
but I don't really watch them all. It's just
I watch
there's a
it.
lot.
Yeah, it's kind of. It's good though.
Yeah.
Is it good?
All right. You mind holding this? I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Here's the battery thing.
That's what I need, jeez.
Huh?
I said this is what I need.
Oh, yeah. You didn't get one?
No, I didn't.
Let me get my notes here.
Yep.
I actually, so I just wanted to take a few pictures. What are you guys sending for? Yeah. So,
All right, I'm gonna take this off. Just walk around.
okay, awesome.
Let's just go ahead and start this thing off. Because we're already 30 minutes late. Sorry about that.
Michael, ready to go? Yeah. Okay, I'll talk to you later.
So, first of all, thank you so much for being here. This is really, really important. This is historic. We have never done something like this before. Do you see where we're at right now? In front of the White House. We gotta remain united. This is what happens when we work together. So let me stick to my notes here. Welcome everybody who's in person. Welcome everybody who's online. We're still early, so there'll be more and more people as time goes on. Again, this is a peaceful demonstration. The goal is spreading awareness to the general public, to the media, to the government. They need to know about this stuff. We are not here to spread hate. This is a dignified and respectful protest. So some of you may have seen what happened in India, the attack on the convention. Yeah, we don't do that. We are not about that at all. At all. This group here, we're here for unity and peace for everybody. We condemn violence. If you came here to start trouble, you're in the wrong place. And on that note, if you see anybody trying to start trouble, you see all these Secret Service people around here, if you see anybody, grab one of them, it's gonna be a bad day for them. That's not what we're here for.
Satanism don't respect human rights, because them witches and warlocks do all type of evil stuff.
Now, if you need to use the restroom, the closest one is in the White House Visitor Center. So if you gotta go, you know. Now, we applied, when we applied for the protest permits, we only applied for demonstration purposes. So if you see anybody trying to sell something, we cannot do that. That requires a vendor's permit. So again, if you see something going on that's not how things are supposed to be, grab one of us, grab one of the Secret Service guards, and then we can get things handled. Now, why are we here? You probably heard me say all this before if you watch my videos. Two main reasons. We're here, number one, for shunning. Groups like the Jehovah's Witnesses and other high-control religious groups and non-religious groups practice shunning as a way to blackmail people into staying in their organization. Many of you here are witnesses, so you know when you leave that organization, they hold your family hostage. Let's just speak English here. They will hold your family hostage. The only way to get access to them again is to return back to the religion. That is not freedom of religion. We're here in the United States. We're supposed to have that freedom, that right. They have taken away that right by blackmailing people out of it. The other reason we're here, part of the reason that I woke up actually, is because these same organizations, Jehovah's Witnesses and many other high control religious groups, they hide known pedophiles. When a child is abused in that way, they do an investigation within the organization. They do not report them to the police. In some cases, the case is not even taken seriously. You know about the two-witness rule, which means if you're a child in these organizations and you're hurt in that way, you have no voice. In 2023, seriously? So we're here for that, and we're here because those people are not reported to the authorities. So in a normal case, for a normal person who's not in a religious group like that, when they commit that type of crime, they have to go to jail. When they get out of jail, they have to report themselves as a sex offender. When they do that all these blocks put up to make sure that it's harder for that person to hurt another child in that way. But in groups like the Witnesses and other high control religious groups, they do not report them to the police, which means that person does not have to register as a sex offender, which means they can continue working as a teacher, working in a daycare. They can continue having access to your children. Not okay. We have to stop this. We have to get mandatory reporting required in all 50 states. Period. Now we're going to start this thing off right before I hand this off to the next speaker. I want to do a moment of silence here, a full minute, not just 10 seconds, a full minute. Let's show some real respect for everybody who's lost their lives due to shunning. We know that shunning has caused suicides. For everybody who has lost their lives due to the blood policy. For everybody who has lost their lives due to the former rules on organ transplants. As you know, these guys keep changing the rules. And when they change the rules, people die in between. And they don't apologize. We want to also give a moment of silence for everybody out there, Jehovah's Witnesses and non, who were victims of child sex abuse. Everybody. So let's please give a 1 minute moment of silence here and show some respect. Thank you so much. It's important that we do that because we know, especially in the Witnesses, when someone does pass away, on the outside, after they've left, they're not acknowledged at all. And even on the inside, when you go to one of their memorials, they spend like what, maybe 10, 15 minutes talking about the person, and then they talk about the religion. I tell you, it was a very big difference when one of my relatives died last year. I went to her memorial. The full hour, they talked about everything that she did in her life, all her accomplishments, a true celebration of life. So in that moment of silence, I think we celebrated their lives just a little bit. So now I want to invite up my first speaker, Will. Thank you for coming.
It's been a few years since I adjusted a mic.
Good job, Justin.
Well, to echo Justin, yeah, here we are in front of the White House. Who of us, especially those born into a high control group, ever would have thought we would end up here? Only those of us that have lived it can understand how anathema it is to our former selves to be here. My name is Will Chandler, and I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I am honored to be speaking in front of you. I can't go any further without giving credit to and thanking my soulmate, Victoria Jones. It is her love that has healed me and given me the strength to be standing here in front of you. Our story is about the power of love. The way I see it, our job is to be educators. We are the experts in our field. We have participatory knowledge. We have lived it. We can educate the public and those in positions to make real change. The education we can provide will help protect some of the most vulnerable in our society. We are here to expose human rights issues, of which most are unaware. The two topics I have chosen to speak on today are the shunning of children and the cover-up of child sexual abuse within high control groups. These evil and twisted practices must be forced to end. It is a bit of an ironic twist of fate that I was raised in the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses. I have witnessed more than most in this life. As a warning, some of my traumas may be uncomfortable to hear. Being raised a witness, I am a survivor of just about every type of abuse you can think of, to include shunning and being trafficked by my Jehovah's Witness stepfather. I have been dealing with shunning since I was 16 years old when I left the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses. I am one among millions that knows this pain. Due to the fact that Vicky chooses to be here out of love, means that what little communication and contact she used to have with her family has ceased. No one, in particular a child, should have to live with this burden. Look at us, look around. Some of us here dare not show their faces. Why is that? They do not want to have intimate knowledge of the pain that some of us have known since childhood. The shunning of children is a human rights violation that must be forced to end. Now we come to the subject of child sexual abuse. This is not an easy one. I don't want to be standing here. I don't want to talk about this subject. I don't want to give voice to what has to be said. None of us do. But if not me, if not us, then who? I spent a decade being raped and beaten as a child. The nexus point was my Jehovah's Witness stepfather. What I'm here to do is educate on how high control groups systematically and methodically cover up child sexual abuse of children. It starts with the us versus them mentality drilled into your head from the moment you can comprehend words. In the Jehovah's Witnesses, one of the ways this manifests is with regard to the governments and the people that work for said governments. We were taught that the devil controls the government and that anyone working for the government was working for the devil. This was said to my face by a woman I considered a grandmother while I was in my dress blue uniform on my way to bury my Korean War veteran grandfather. Keeping that in mind, let's go to when I turned my stepfather in for pedophilia when I was 13. Of course, as trained, we went to the local elders first. The elders were quick to shape the Inquisition in a manner that would convict me of partaking in a homosexual act. When my mother took me to the police, well, I trusted them far less than the elders, and the elders didn't exactly protect me. My cult programming prevented me from sharing enough of the abuse to convict my stepfather in the state I was in. At that point, in my child's mind, I thought that if I said too much, I might end up in jail as well. So I kept my mouth shut. Let's also take a look at how some high control groups, like the Jehovah's Witnesses, officially view child pornography. In the Jehovah's Witnesses Elders Manual, the viewing of child pornography is on the same offense level as same-sex pornography. The Jehovah's Witnesses treat child porn as a victimless sin. They don't even put it on the level of a victimless crime. As a survivor of this type of child trafficking, I am not willing to be accepting of this viewpoint. We all call on those in power to stand with us and protect children in high control groups from a fate like mine. I want to wrap up by talking for a minute about the insular nature of high control groups, in particular the struggles of those with the strength to leave, the struggles of perception in what to us is an alien environment. Now, I'd been out of the cult for a few years by this point. Man, I just didn't quite fit in and didn't quite understand the world around me. I was also still so insanely naive from being raised in a high control group, but I was navigating the world passably enough. On 9/11/2001, I was serving in the Presidential Salute Battery as a member of the Honor Guard here in the MDW area. My platoon and I were first responders to the Pentagon crash site and were there for the entirety of Operation Noble Eagle. One of my biggest takeaways from 9/11 was to see the genuine love that was so freely and sincerely given to those of us trying to find survivors and then sadly recover what remains we could while also burying some of them in Arlington National Cemetery. It was the love shown by the volunteer groups and religious organizations that really caught my attention. Being raised as a Jehovah's Witness, I was taught that all groups like this were false and evil and worked directly for the devil. Well, there's the old saying of you know a tree by its fruit. I saw good fruit given to those in chaos. This showed me then and it shows me now that we are not alone. That is why we are here today, out of love. We are here to do the right thing, to fight for those that cannot fight for themselves. The human rights violations of shunning children and covering up child sexual abuse will come to an end as we stand together in love. I will leave you with a quote that echoes both Edmund Burke and Marcus Aurelius. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So before I invite up the next speaker, let's just make our message here known. You know protests are about chanting, so let's just chant what's right behind me. All religions must respect human rights. Please repeat. All religions must respect human rights. All religions must respect human rights. All religions must respect human rights. All right. Let's have the next speaker, Brandy.
I've never been up here and done this by myself before. I always normally have someone else with me. And hopefully I don't get a W for today. We gather today. I can just do this. We gather today in the shade of a cherished ideal. Freedom of religion. According to the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights, everyone has the right to choose and change their religion. Yet, even as we celebrate this lofty principle, many among us here today and worldwide remain tethered by invisible chains. Sorry, I'm very nervous. Barriers built by the very communities for which we once belonged. Nelson Mandela once said, "To be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. This profound insight guides us as we navigate the complexities of faith, belief, and individual freedoms. Religions, in their essence, are pathways to understanding our place in the cosmos, to deriving purpose, to seeking solace. However, while many core religious teachings promote love, peace, and unity, there are mechanisms within some religious communities that use fear and isolation as an iron grip. One such mechanism is shunning. At its core, shunning is a systematic act of social rejection, a deliberate prison for those who diverge from accepted norms or beliefs. Sure, on paper, they say that you can change religious beliefs, but the reality, as most of us know here today, is often starkly different. Even when a religion has not officially announced our disobedience, somehow the congregation knows when to shadow ban you. The pain of shunning is profound. Imagine for a moment being treated as invisible by those you love, simply because you chose to listen to your conscience. Imagine the solitude of knowing that asking questions can cost you your community. For many of us here, leaving our faith or even expressing doubts results in being isolated from our families, friends, and communities, being treated as though we have become non-persons. This psychological and emotional severance can lead to mental health challenges, including severe depression, anxiety, and tragically, in some cases, even suicide. This is not freedom. It is a prison of conformity, where walls are constructed not of bricks, but of silence. John F. Kennedy once remarked, "The rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened." The question then arises, how do we move forward? Enforcing freedom of religion means actively promoting a culture of acceptance, understanding, and dialogue. It means challenging harmful practices, even if they are cloaked in religious traditions. It is imperative for nations and communities to recognize the harm caused by such practices. As we advocate for change, let's remember this. True strength of faith is measured by how many it can retain through love, not fear.
Oh, yes.
True religious freedom will come from hearts that understand, accept, and love without condition. Let's aspire to build a world where no one feels chained by their beliefs, where the freedom to question is as sacred as the freedom to believe. Or maybe something on your head.
That was awesome. You mind if I tell us who you are? All right. So just so you guys know who that is, this is the niece of everybody's favorite governing body member, Stephen Lett.
Stephen Collett.
So just so you know who we got here to support us. And before I invite up the next speaker, let's once again let people know why we're here. This time, let's do let them free. Because when you leave the Jehovah's Witnesses, of course, you're shunned. Which means for a lot of people, they can't leave. So they're stuck. This is the whole reason that a chemo exists. Physically in, mentally out. You still gotta give the watchtower your time. You gotta go through all the motions, but you don't believe. So repeat after me, please. Let them free.
Let them free.
Let them free.
Let them free. Let them free. Let them free.
Awesome. All right, let me invite up the next speaker, who is Malia.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for coming and being here. My name is Malia Thompson, and I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses for almost 40 years. As a child, I was molested by brothers in the congregation. It started when I was only 11 years old, and I immediately told my parents. My parents said to go to the elders immediately. I didn't know going to the police was an option. The elders questioned me. I sat in a tiny room. I remember being probed with questions about every detail for them to tell me that there were no witnesses and that it was my word against his. So I believed it was in Jehovah's hands, and that's what I was told to do. I was later molested again at 14. I again told my parents. This was a close family friend that my parents and I trusted. We went to the elders. Nobody told the police. They again told me it was my word against theirs because there was no witnesses. They also read me scriptures online and told other families not to associate with me because I was making it up. I was sexually assaulted by my brother-in-law when I was 16, who was not even a witness. But because I didn't scream or cry or run or tell anyone, because why would I? What would be the point? I was told it was my fault and I was disfellowshipped. No one could talk to me for almost a year. This isn't just my story. This is countless other people's stories and other children's stories. They can't speak out like I didn't. But you know what? I am now the person that I always needed as a child. And while I can't change the past, I can be that voice for those kids that don't have anyone there. Their own parents aren't protecting them. They don't even know that they have a voice. So we are that voice. We're here for the kids that are being baptized at young ages that don't know anything about the world. They don't know anything about religion. They don't know who they are because their identity is in a cult. So let's be the voice for the children. Let's speak out. Let's share our stories. It's painful and it's hard to do, but it's gonna help people. And they're gonna know they can speak up about what's happening to them and they can get out. So let's protect the children. Protect the children.
Protect the children. Protect the children. Protect the children.
Thank you for that. That really shows
Damn straight.
some of the issues going on in these religions. And again, we're not just here talking about the Jehovah's Witnesses, even though we all just happen to be former members. This kind of thing, these kind of issues go beyond just the Watchtower. There are many, many high control religious groups out there that have these same issues. This is just one of them. So we gotta come out here together. We gotta unite our forces to make stuff like this happen so we can get the word out and spread awareness. Now to go along with her speech, second here. Let's do another chant here. A little bit harder, because we got a hard word in there. See if we can do it. Mandatory reporting for all 50 states. Mandatory
reporting for all 50 states.
And provinces in Canada.
Mandatory reporting for all
50 states. Mandatory reporting for all 50 states. Mandatory reporting for all 50 states.
This is important. We need this because with the client-clergy confidentiality, they can continue to not report known pedophiles to the police. This has to stop. This makes no sense at all. None. There's no reason at all not to pass this in all 50 states. So let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. Seriously. ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. One more for you guys. This has to do with the reason why groups like the Jehovah's Witnesses don't report to the police. That's because instead of protecting children, they want to protect their reputation. They don't want their organization to look bad. As they say, they're bringing reproach on Jehovah's name. This makes no sense. No sense at all. So please repeat after me. Sorry, I think it's turning off here. Protect the children, not your reputation.
Protect your children, not your reputation. Protect your children, not your reputation.
Protect the children, not your reputation. Protect the children, not your reputation.
Protect the children. Yes, man. Yes.
All right, so let's invite up the next speaker, Pablo.
In around 2003, one of my cousins came back from work, got into his room, and found out his roommate sexually abusing his 5-year-old daughter. This abuser is cousin of both of us. So my cousins are Jehovah's Witnesses. And rather than getting the government authorities involved, they reported this to the local elders. The elders disfellowshipped my cousin, who was the perpetrator, but never reported the incident to the police. The abuser moved back to Mexico, where no one knew what he had done. My cousin, this pedophile, was just recently reinstated in Mexico. So he has been accepted back as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. He's not on the sex offender list either in the US or in Mexico. And the girl he abused never received any professional support or therapy. And many of us here today know similar stories. And we want the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society to provide their secret list of pedophiles to the police. And another subject I want to talk about is the high control that exists in religions. And that is mandated shunning. Many of us are here because we are being shunned by family members. I have recently become a victim of shunning myself, so I know how painful it is. But before I personally experienced shunning, I did it to my sister. In 2004, my younger sister Angelica was disfellowshipped by elders in her local Jehovah's Witnesses congregation. She was barely 18. And at this young age, she lost all her closest family relationships. All she did wrong was form a family with a non-Jehovah's Witness. However, as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I knew I must follow the rules imposed by the leaders of the religion called the governing body. And I shun any member who is expelled. I was told that this was necessary in order to pressure my sister to return to the religion. For 15 years, I shunned my sister. I ostracized her. I hurt her. I missed out on her life and the life of her 5 children. I did this because I believed that my religious leaders then were truly what they claimed to be, God's direct channel for salvation. I was afraid I was going to lose God's favor if I didn't follow the shunning mandate. But I did something that I regret even more. I pressured my mother to show more loyalty to God by cutting off all contact with her 2 disfellowshipped children. I know this was very painful for my mother. and she died was to shunning 2 of her children. Shortly after she died, I came to the conclusion that church leaders are just regular people like you and me. They're nothing special. Therefore, they cannot and should not make personal decisions for me, my family, or anyone else. When I finally apologized to my sister and started a long process of mending our relationship, I find out that right before she was excommunicated, she was being sexually harassed, propositioned by a man in her congregation who was much older than her. I find out that this man was also sexually harassing my youngest sister. Both of my sisters were minors at the time. The perpetrator was a relative by marriage and was a man in so-called in good standing in the congregation, and in fact was appointed later on as a ministerial servant and later on as an elder or clergy, while hiding what he was doing. So I want lawmakers to know 4 things. Number 1, clergy must be mandated reporters, no loopholes or exceptions. Number 2, mandated shunning is not a personal choice. It is an abusive policy to retain members. It is obligatory and enforced through fear and shame by group leaders who want a high level of control. Number 3, mandated shunning is abuse that causes the victim actual pain. Research of the brain has demonstrated that the pain of being excluded is equivalent to the pain of physical harm. 4, mandated shunning is a crime that must be recognized by the law. It destroys families. It hurts not only those who are shunned, but also those who are forced to shun the people they love. Groups that mandate shunning harm society. It must not have charitable tax-free status. So please, let us make religious mandated shunning and religious cover-up of child abuse a crime. Los que hablan español, en el 2003 mi primo regresó a su casa del trabajo y encontró a su compañero de cuarto abusando sexualmente de su hija de 5 años. El abusador es mi primo. Siendo que somos primos, son testigos de Jehová ellos, este abuso nunca fue reportado a la policía, solo fue informado a los ancianos de la congregación local. Mi primo, el pedófilo, regresó a México, donde nadie sabe lo que él hizo, y fue reaceptado a la religión en México. Su delito nunca fue registrado ni en los Estados Unidos ni en México, y la niña, mi sobrina, que fue abusada, nunca recibió apoyo o terapia profesional. Muchos de nosotros presentes tenemos conocimiento de historias similares y queremos exigir que la religión de los testigos de Jehová entregue a las autoridades la lista de los pedófilos que mantienen en secreto. Además de este problema, existe el otro de marginar y excluir. Muchos de nosotros aquí presentes somos víctimas de esta marginación. En el 2004 yo marginé a mi hermana. Fue expulsada porque ella se casó con un no testigo de Jehová. Ella perdió mucha familia, relación familiar, y mi experiencia con ella también fue perdida. Tuve que marginarla porque creía que los líderes de esta religión de verdad son puestos por Dios para salvar a la humanidad, supuestamente. Y también empujé a mi madre a que dejara de hablar a sus dos hijos, sus dos queridos hijos. Finalmente desperté, me di cuenta que estos señores no son nada especial, son simplemente seres humanos como nosotros. Después de enmendar mi relación con mi hermana, me di cuenta que ella también fue acosada sexualmente cuando era menor, junto con la más menor de mis hermanas. La religión de los testigos de Jehová, como muchas otras, protege a los criminales y manipula a sus miembros para que se lastimen entre sí. A los legisladores quiero que conozcan 4 cosas. Se debe obligar a los clérigos a que reporten abuso sexual de menores sin excepciones ni excusas. 2. El mandato de marginar es una póliza abusiva para mantener a miembros. Es obligada y impuesta a través de miedo y vergüenza por líderes religiosos con el objetivo de controlar a sus miembros. 3. El mandato de marginar causa dolor físico a la víctima, lo cual ha sido demostrado por los estudios cerebrales. 4. El mandato de marginar es un acto criminal que la ley del país debe reconocer. Grupos que lo aplican no deben ser gozados de ayuda caritativa ni excepción de impuestos.
Thank you so much for doing that in multiple languages. That is very, very, very important because, as we know, these organizations are worldwide. So we have to deliver these messages where everybody can hear it. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Wally. Hey, for 1 second here, let me just say, shout out to Wally, JW Thoughts. When I was first coming into the witnesses, I actually studied with him. I was his first study, and he was my first study. Or no, I should say, I was your first study. Yeah, you were my first study. So he helped me get into it, and then when I was going through the waking up process, I was on the EXJW Reddit page. Shout out to everybody on EXJW Reddit. I actually saw his picture from my assembly hall, and that alone made me think, you know, I know this guy, I know his family, I know his history, and I know that he has way more to lose leaving than staying, you know. So that for me was enough to allow myself to question things more. And sometimes that's what you need. You need to see somebody who you know doesn't have anything to gain from leaving. And when you see that, it gives you permission to say, you know what? There's gotta be a reason for this. Nobody would choose on their own to go through a hard time. Nobody would choose on their own to go through trauma. Because when you're shunned, it is traumatic. It is. You don't need me to tell you that. You guys already know. So before I invite up the next speaker, I just want to piggyback off of something that Pablo said. He talked about the fact that these organizations operate tax-free. So let me just paint a picture for you. If this year you are lucky enough to make $1 million, you're a millionaire, great for you. Guess what? At the end of the year, or rather the next April, the IRS is gonna want $200,000, $300,000 of that money. So you are no longer a millionaire anymore. Now, compared to the Watchtower and groups like them, they get to operate tax-free, which means when they make several millions, their numbers are out there. You can look for it yourself. Several $1 million these people are making, and they get to operate tax-free. And yet, they're doing this, they're making all this money and not giving anything back to support the government, and yet they are producing all of this hate. They're producing all of this hurt in the world. They're letting known pedophiles run around. This has to be stopped. So I think my next speaker is needs a second here. So let me go into mine real quick, and then we'll let him up. So One second.
Hey, Justin, can I steal your charger for like 5 minutes?
Oh, yeah.
You want to plug it in? Because
Hear me all right? Yeah. All right. Sorry about the delay there. Well, I was struggling a little to try and convey how it feels to grow up as so many of us have. I figured I can share with you something personal that may help to show how we all struggle.
yeah.
There was a poem that I wrote a few years back, in part about shunning and the life that I have lived. Please bear with me, as it is a first draft that I have never gone back and finished and never will. I imagine all the pain that I cause you. I feel I'm spiraling far away from you. It's like I'm drowning. All I want to do is touch you, let you know the truth of just what I feel for you. All I ever do is fail to show you I love you. I don't know how to reach me or you. All I am is pain from the top to the age of 2. I dreamt about you all my life, you know. Everything I was seems lost to me and you. How do I get back to you knowing that I love you? I need help. I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. All I hear in return is silence. It's deafening to not be heard. What am I doing wrong in this life? It feels like everything is the answer to the last verse. How do I climb my way out of the abyss? Where is anyone when I am screaming like this? Forget the light. Show me the entrance to the tunnel. I just need a lifeline to cling to. In my head, I hear that misery is a friend to me. If that is true, then where is my company? I'm searching for a rope, a ladder, or a rung. I pray to God this abyss is not finally won. What is this that I am feeling? It is so foreign to me. I turn my eyes to heaven. What is this that I see? The sun is rising. Is this the sign that I seek? Could it be that this is the beginning for me? I hit my knees with my face turned to the clouds. What is this that I feel? Is it raining down on me? No, I see the sun. The rain was from me. Wipe my eyes, my love. This life I live is for you, not only me. Confusion and doubt come back again. I get these glimpses through the shattered pieces of the man I was, using adhesive to mend all the pieces. My fingers are bloody from the shards of what was once me. Why can't I find another to walk beside what was, what is, and what will be? That's about as... That's about as raw as I could figure on what to share to try to convey what so many of us standing here deal with every day and over decades, over years and decades. It goes on, and that's why we're here out of love. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that, really. And sorry for the distractions. Somebody's trying to hustle us, so that's just how it is when you're in public. Okay, so that was my turn for my speech. Now, in the year 1947, in the January 8th Awake magazine, the Jehovah's Witnesses criticized the Catholic Church for their use of excommunication. A mere 5 years later, 5 years, that's it, they adopted their own policy, disfellowshipping. And this policy, as you guys know, has wreaked havoc on the lives of countless worldwide. Perhaps even this day, this is a weekday, Tuesday, so perhaps even this day, somewhere on earth, at someone's midweek meeting, during the announcements, an elder would get on stage and announce somebody's name, and after saying their name, they will say those 7 words. Those 7 words is no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And when those 7 words are spoken, they will have turned a living, full-grown human being into a mere shadow. Following those words, friends, families, the entire support network are held hostage. The Jehovah's Witnesses mandate their followers to shun all who are disfellowshipped. A strict no order, no contact policy is put on everybody. A policy that also extends to anybody who dares decide to leave the faith. So it's not just people that break the rules, it's people who just decide to use their freedom of religion and decide that they want to change religions. So imagine a mother being told not to speak to her son, a daughter forbidden from having her father walk her down the aisle at her wedding, and grandparents that don't even know their own grandchildren. This is a reality. This is not something you have to imagine. You guys know this. Some of you are experiencing this right now. This is plain and simple. This is the reality within the Jehovah's Witnesses and many other religious groups that mandate shunning. This is blackmailing people into staying in their organization by threatening to take away everybody that they care about. Nobody should have to choose between their family and their faith. Nobody, especially in modern times. Now, this mandatory shunning policy doesn't just affect personal relationships. It seeps into every aspect of life. In my own experience, when I made the choice to leave the Jehovah's Witnesses, that nearly ruined my career because the company that I was working for was owned and operated by witnesses. So when I made that choice to leave, I had to sneak my way out, fade as they call it. Because if I didn't do that, I would risk losing my job. So for an entire year, I had to fake it. An entire year, I had to fake like I was still a Jehovah's Witness in order to not get fired. Again, in 2023, in the United States where we have all these rights, and this is what people have to do. It's not right at all. This policy has broken up families, led to countless suicides, and pushed people into homelessness, all because they just want to change their beliefs.
I don't have this time for real.
Now, furthermore, this shunning also affects those who have experienced abuse. Victims of abusive marriages are trapped because they cannot seek divorce without the risk of being disfellowshipped and therefore shunned. And then there's the victims of child sex abuse. The 2-witness rule and the reluctance to support or to report known pedophiles to authorities has created a culture where child abuse victims are denied justice and protection. And when these children decide that they would like to seek justice, when these children grow up and the organization that they trusted to protect them failed, they have to fear being disfellowshipped if they press charges. So can you imagine that? You go through the trauma of being abused as a child, and when you want to seek justice, you have to worry that your religion is going to mandate your entire family shuns you. This is the reality for people out there. Nobody should have to choose between seeking safety and their beliefs. Nobody should have to choose between seeking justice and their beliefs. But this is what these organizations are asking people to do. The mandatory shunning rule also impacts politics. Jehovah's Witnesses are stripped of their right to vote. They're stripped of their right to run for office if they want to. And to openly support a political candidate, 9 times out of 10 is going to end up in the elders' room. And you keep doing it, you're disfellowshipped, therefore shunned. So, right here in the United States, 2023, almost 2024. Tomorrow's November. We got 1 more month and we're in 2024. This is modern times we're talking about here. Modern times. you would think I was talking about the 1920s. And yet here in modern times where we have fought so much for human rights, people are being blackmailed out of those rights. They have lost their right to vote. They have lost their right to leave an abusive relationship. They have lost their right to seek justice. They have lost their right to change their religion, because exercising those rights means they risk losing everybody that they care about. Their entire community, their families, their friends, their jobs, in some cases, even their home. If you're renting from a Jehovah's Witness and you get disfellowshipped, do you really think that person's gonna let you keep renting from them? I've heard many stories where someone gets disfellowshipped and they are asked to move out immediately. So this is not an exaggeration. At its core, the shunning policy is a cruel and psychologically dangerous mechanism used by religions like the Jehovah's Witnesses to blackmail people out of their basic human rights. So we must fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. And we must ensure that human rights are preserved in every corner of our society. So please once again repeat, all religions must respect human rights.
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 All religions must respect human rights. Keep going. Must respect human rights. All religions must respect human rights. All religions must respect human rights. So with that, I want to invite up the next speaker, who is Rick. Whenever you're ready. You might know this guy.
From the apostate capital of the United States, the world, the chief apostate.
Well, hello everyone, and I thank you all for coming down. Justly thanks. And this is a good turnout. This looks like it may be the largest protest in the history of the Watchtower for ex-witnesses. I've been to a number of them. So I think that's a wonderful thing. I've been to a number of protests. In fact, I've been protesting for 20 years, close to it. And back then, protesting was not a good thing. Many ex-witnesses said, Rick, why feed in to the persecution complex of the Jehovah's Witnesses? But it works, friends. I'm telling you, I can tell you there's countless people that have come out of the Watchtower organization because of protesting.
Who talks to your child? Do they talk
At
to your
conventions,
child after school?
would
Do
you
they
like- would you
direct
like
or
to-
control your
would-
child?
Would you like to come up here and speak?
Yeah.
No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Because we have 73 million children in America. How many kids in public school? Listen to my message. It's nice. They're doing telepathy every day. We care about our future, sir.
You're a disruptor.
He asked me what I was speaking about.
You're gonna be disfellowship.
You're
right
being
here
disruptive.
now.
I'll leave, sir. You're being ignorant and
All
very
right,
ugly.
all right, you're disfellowship.
Well, anyways, it's good to be free. And isn't it a wonderful thing to be free from a...
Kind to you, boy. You hear me, boy? Because I can be ignorant too, boy. You hear me, boy? Don't you say nothing to me, boy.
You know, maybe if she keeps it up, we'll have to have her removed.
Yeah,
You know?
millions of kids go to school every day.
So anyways, aren't you glad that you were freed from the Watchtower? Aren't you glad that the tentacles of the Watchtower are no longer wrapped around you. And I think it's a wonderful thing to be able to be free. I was the third generation Jehovah's Witness. I was into the organization for 50 years of my life. And I have to tell you, really, as you fellows all know as well, it really puts a lot of control on you. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Now, many of my relatives, when I left the Watchtower, like your relatives, had nothing to do with it. I've had 50 relatives, nieces, nephews, daughters, grandchildren that had nothing to do with me because I wanted to leave the Watchtower and I wanted to speak out against it. And no doubt the practice of the Watchtower caused a lot of people to have a lot of problems. I do a radio program every Saturday night. I've been doing it for 18 years. I've never missed a Saturday night. We are there because people come in, and they call in from all over the world, and they voice their thoughts. Many of them are PMOs. In fact, I've actually even had active Jehovah's Witnesses call into the program. Many people's lives have been saved because of it. We're doing a live stream here right now. There's close to 250 people online right now listening and watching this protest. So why don't we give them a cheer? Hello everyone online. They couldn't be here. They wanted to be here, but some of them just couldn't do it. So they say that they're here in spirit. So that's a wonderful thing. So anyways, we all know that many of the pleasures of life have been taken away from us.
Can't tell if she's with us or against us.
Many things we couldn't do. We couldn't get a career. Remember they used to say if you get a really good job or you want to move up in the world, it would be like rearranging furniture on the Titanic. That's exactly what the witnesses would tell you, the Watchtower. And we all believe that. So many people here today gave up good careers. Many people, I had a man call the program the other night. He was going to be a doctor. And the Watchtower told him, we don't need doctors in the new system. So why would you even spend your money? It's foolish to go. So you can see, and he was so upset. So today's a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses into retirement that have a hard time because of the policies of the Jehovah's Witness. But I have to tell you, there's many here today too that have given up school. They have given up a lot of things in their life. And the Watchtower put pressure on all of us. We could not do things that normal people could do. We couldn't even go to the 4th of July parade. We couldn't celebrate Christmas. You know it as well. We couldn't even have a birthday. So the problems that it caused for all of us have been monumental. And, you know, even to attend a church, you couldn't do that. And even to eat turkey. To eat turkey on Thanksgiving, there were many, many witnesses that would not do that. Maybe you were one of them, and how foolish that was when you stop and think about it. But freedom was hard to find in the Watchtower. But we're all finding freedom now. We all have freedom. Look at us, we're free. We're here. Isn't it nice to be free? And we're all here today because we could never do anything like this at Watchtower. Some witnesses would feel that even coming and standing in front of the White House would be like an act of going against the witnesses. It would be nationalism. They'd come up with some excuse. Well, we don't want to go to Washington. We don't want to be down there with the government. I mean, they never had a good word to say about anybody but themselves. Watchtower only loves themselves. We know that. People here today have been given a situation when you were witnesses that you were actually controlled from the cradle to the grave. Every single decision in your life was surrounded by the Watchtower. Well, I have to tell you, friends, I really have to tell you, the monkey died, the circus is over. There's no doubt about it. And there's more and more people that are finding out what the Watchtower is hiding behind. Now, most of us have been former Jehovah's Witnesses. But you know, there's people who call into my program that were never one of Jehovah's Witnesses. But they're all understanding it now. They never realized how harsh and how difficult that organization was. And friends, I have to tell you, it's nothing more than a big business masquerading as a religion. That's all it was. Now I have to tell you, I have to say this, in the late 90s, my wife, she died, former Jehovah's Witness. She started to see the theological teachings in the Watchtower are totally incorrect. They have their own Bibles, we know, and the scriptures are so misused, it's pathetic. So my former wife started seeing that something is not right, what they teach is wrong. So I started seeing some of this too. We were both of the anointed class. Some of you people know that. They say, oh, the anointed. Well, I'll tell you, they have a different hope. And I used to express that hope in some of the congregation meetings. And they would call me into the back room. Don't talk about it. Even though what you're saying, when you read the scripture, it's correct. But don't talk about it. These people all have a life on earth. Y'all going to heaven. And you're mixing them up. Even though it's correct what you're saying, don't say it. So, I mean, that was something that really started annoying me. But before that happened, the governing body in New York, I got to know Garrett Loesch pretty well. And he was very interested because of his anointed brother, 58 years old. He invited me to go down to Brooklyn, the world headquarters. And he wanted me to participate in an interview for possible potential position on the governing body. There were 3 other men there at the time.
I think I'm gonna move by the speaker so they can hear him better than her.
Okay, in the year 2000, because a lot of governing body members were getting old. So when he invited me down there, I spent the whole day in Brooklyn. And that's when I really found out that the Watchtower is nothing more than a big business, a money-making business. And I was so disappointed. And my former wife was so disappointed. It was so controlling. And consequently, what they do, if you were invited down to New York, he wanted me to spend the whole day with him and to go over so many things. He was asking questions. He took me and showed me all kinds of things. He showed me where the governing body met in a room. He showed me, he said, no, this isn't on the tour, but these are things I'm showing you, I want you to be aware of. And I just walked away from that organization saying, this is not the truth. So I kind of rejected it and kind of let him know that. He even tried to contact me after I left and tried to get me to come there. He wrote me a letter from Uruguay. But the thing is, and I wanted to really make it known to people, that it's a good game. It's a very good game. And when you think about it, how did they ever pull it off on us? How, in goodness' name's sake, did this organization ever do this to us? But anyways, for not wanting to participate in a high role with the Watchtower and not want to participate much at all, I started protesting when I found out how evil they are and how much of a business they are. So in 2005, my former wife and I would disfellowship for apostasy in the Watchtower. And friends, I have to tell you, as many here will say the same thing, aren't we glad that Satan kicked us out of his organization? Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'm definitely glad to be out. No matter what force it was that got me out, I'm glad to be out. Let's see, is Ivy here? Awesome. Okay. You'll be next. So before she comes up, I just want to reiterate why we're here. We are here, number one, because of shunning. When you look around at these signs, be free, silent no more. My brother's suicide due to shunning. I mean, Watchtower organization breaks up families. This is true stuff. Shunning destroys families and individuals. Shunning destroys families. Jehovah's Witnesses break up families. Watchtower all these signs are speaking very clear, very true messages. And then you have the CSA issue. Children are dying. Jehovah's Witnesses forbid blood transfusions. I mean, love never shuns. You guys got the message here, for real. So we have to be out here speaking about this stuff, because when these witnesses come knocking on your door, and other religions too, it's not just the witnesses, again. When they come knocking on your door, this is the kind of stuff they don't talk to you about. They want to give you the fairy tales. They want to give you, the candy and ice cream. They don't want to give you the real truth. They don't want to give you what happens when you decide to leave. They don't want to give you what happens when there's a known pedophile in their midst. And they definitely don't want to give you what happens to people who leave and whose family have shunned them, and they try to deal with it. But when you have all of your loved ones shun you like that, not many people can deal with that. And so not only have they lost their family and their friends, those people end up losing their life. Suicide is a major issue in these organizations that practice shunning. Very, very major issue. So we got to talk about this stuff. People have to know about this stuff. The blood issue. There are children dying for not getting a blood transfusion. You have fathers who get to come home from the hospital alone after losing their wife and their newborn due to not having blood. Again, this is not an exaggeration. These are realities. You don't believe it? Look it up. It's on Google. Look it up. Do your own research, something that we were not allowed to do as witnesses. Do your own research. So with that, I want to invite up Ivy, our next speaker.
Hold it. And is there a certain point in which not to go forward so it doesn't get that feedback? We're good? How y'all doing today? Everybody can hear me? All right, greetings and salutations. Guess what? Happy holidays. Right? Feels good to be able to say that and not condemn yourself. Go in a corner somewhere and cry. Feel like you're not good enough. Well, thank you to Justin and the organizers of the protest today. I'm actually here from Florida. I was previously in the organization probably from 2001 up until 2020. I don't know if anybody else came in after the trade towers. You're like, oh shit, Armageddon. But that was me. I had previously thought I wouldn't be a witness because my mother and father were disfellowshipped. And as a teenager, me and my 3 siblings were shunned as well, right? Byproduct of being in a disfellowshipped household. So when I came back around, I'm like, really? Are you doing this? But now I stand before you because my mother, who I love dearly, and she doesn't really have a situation or an excuse, so I won't make one, but I had needed to make the decisions that were best for me to escape an abusive marriage, right? So while I was a witness, I was also married for 17 years, and I had wrote a very extensive 4-page letter to the branch detailing all of the abuse, verbal, physical, financial, the whole nine. And I got a letter back that pretty much said, keep your chin up. Keep persevering in prayer. You'll be okay. And then I got an acknowledgement from my local body of elders saying, yeah, we neglected your situation because, let's face it, your husband's a bully, a narcissist, and we don't even want to deal with him. So that left me torn to make a decision to look after my mental and emotional and physical well-being of not just me, but also my minor child. So I left. I separated for 2 years. And I actually had 2 active Bible students at the time that I was this fellowship. Check that out, right? All those efforts for nothing. And then now I stand before you shunned not only by my mother, who has gone through this before, but by my daughter, who I love dearly, but I did it to myself, right? I was very devout. I was a pioneer, pray every night, supplicate, patience of Job, endurance of Joseph. And now I don't have a relationship with those that are closest to me simply because they cannot make the decision for themselves to choose common sense, love, and humanity over doctrine. So shunning is definitely an abusive practice that is used by a lot of controlling individuals, right? If we were talking about a relationship, the woman is normally isolated from her friends and family. She's normally told not to associate with these people because they want absolute control. They control your money, your mind, your wardrobe, all those things. So when I looked into what abuse actually is and what gaslighting is, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Christian congregation known as Jehovah's Witnesses, gaslights all of its 8 million plus members around the world. So this is not just an issue that we're dealing with here in the United States. This is a world issue. This is a human rights issue. This is something that needs to be looked into by everybody who has the authority to make decisions on behalf of mankind. You have generations of people who are separated for no reason. You have people who are homeless, kicked out, left destitute. We've already talked about the suicide. I mean, hell, I'm in therapy. I'm popping pills twice a day. just because we need to come back to some sense of normalcy. That period of being kicked out or exiled and adjusting and deciding to not go back and having your whole reality turned inside out and upside down is extremely painful. There's no words I could probably use to quantify the mental anguish that one goes through every day, while you're in the shower, while you're brushing your teeth, before you go to bed, while you're cooking in front of your stove, while you're loading your dishwasher, while you're putting clothes in the dryer. It's almost nonstop. The barrage of thoughts, of guilt, of questioning. Am I still doing the right thing? Guess what? That creeps in every now and again. It does. It still does. Did I make the right choice? Am I on the right side? Our whole minds and lives have been controlled by this organization, only to find out what? You don't have to report field service time and anybody can just exhale on their last breath and make it? I'm like, shit, I should have been in the Olympics then. You know what I mean? There was a lot of stuff I could have did. I could have been like the next Beyonce. But I didn't do any of those things. I actually just devoted my time, my life, and my everything, right? Your whole soul, mind, strength. Y'all know the scripture. You give it all because you're thinking you're actually doing the greatest good, only to find out that you actually were handicapping and crippling and disabling yourself. And you were also doing a huge disservice to all of your fellow human beings by being so close-minded and judgmental. So now that we are here to join in solidarity for those that are with us, those who couldn't make us, those who are in different zip codes, area codes, and time zones, let's really make this count. The next time we get to do this, let's keep doing this because everyone out there needs to know what's happening. And I'm gonna need y'all to start taking them tax dollars back from the watchtower. They're not serving their community. They're not doing food drives. They're not paying people's bills. There's no utility vouchers. They're not doing tutoring for schools. They're not doing daycare. They're literally taking the dollars from their members and they're padding their pockets. National deficit is due to the watchtower. Come on now. If y'all don't care about nothing else, we all care about the money. Come on, let's go find that money. They got property, they got assets. Come on, seize their stuff. Let's go. When I say shunning is inhumane, I want y'all to repeat after me. Y'all ready? Let's go. Shunning is humane. Shunning is inhumane. Shunning is inhumane. I know y'all could do better than that. Come on. I want y'all to say it like it's the first day you just realized that the rug had been pulled from underneath you. I want you to say it like this is the day that you got the call that your loved one had committed suicide. I want you to say it like it's the moment that you realize that every opportunity that you could have had was taken from you. You didn't make the choice. It was taken from you. You didn't know you was being programmed. You didn't know you was being brainwashed. You didn't know you was being gaslighted. So I want you to say it like you mean it. Shunning is inhumane. Shunning is inhumane. Y'all, get in your feelings, okay? That's how we ignite change. No standing around on the sidelines. Get involved. Get into it. From the bottom of your feet to the crown of your head. Come on, shunning is inhumane. Thank you.
That's how it's done. Is Felice here? Awesome. Okay. You'll be next. So before, you can make your way up here though. Might as well. So before she comes up, I just want to say, truly, thank you all for being here. Really, I know I said at the beginning, but it's got to be said again. Thank you so much for being here. I know some of you had to make a long drive. Some of you, like me, had to make a long flight. I mean, seriously, some of you are local, but you could have been anywhere, but you're here. Those of you watching online, same thing. You guys could be doing anything. There's so much on YouTube right now, so much stuff that you could also be watching, but you're here with us. So thank you so much. Truly, thank you so much. So, where'd she go? Where did Felice go? Let's see. Okay, so our next speaker is Felice. Thank you for being here.
Hi, everyone. Hi. wrote down my thoughts because I didn't want to miss anything. So bear with me. All right. Hello. My name is Felice, also known as Totally Awake, as I have named my YouTube channel, where I do my activism. Thank you. Against Watchtower. I am a born-in third-generation ex-Jehovah's Witness, baptized at 15. I had a huge awakening from the indoctrination of Watchtower when I experienced a placenta abruption and my daughter needed several blood transfusions at birth to survive. She was not breathing, without a heartbeat, and she didn't have any blood in her little body. Could you imagine letting yourself, a loved one, or your child die refusing life-saving blood? Well, to be an obedient and true Jehovah's Witness, you have to be willing and ready to sacrifice your life or your child's life when faced with needing a life-saving blood transfusion. I was put asleep for an emergency C-section. When I awoke, my doctor told me there was no if, ands, or but about it. We had to give my daughter an emergency blood transfusion to survive. I told him, okay, thank you for saving my baby. See, the doctors were confused because even though I was waking up from Watchtower and had changed my paperwork to say no denomination in the hospital I had my baby at, it didn't register at my doctor's office suite, so they had no idea I was okay with blood. I couldn't fathom how anyone could allow their child to die refusing life-saving medical treatment that God had allowed man to be able to perform. How unloving would that be? The doctor and my husband, who has never been a Jehovah's Witness, was going to make sure my daughter would receive the life-saving treatment she should. I knew I wanted out. You see, though, around the time when my first daughter was born, I found out about all the corruption and lies, flip-flop doctrine and false doctrine that I knew I would give my daughter or myself blood if she or I needed it during the birth process. Regardless of the fact that it is against the rules as a Jehovah's Witness, as they feel blood is sacred and represents life. But like former governing body member Raymond Franz of the Jehovah's Witness organization said, blood is sacred, but not more sacred than the life it represents. For decades, countless lives have been lost due to their following the rules and direction of Watchtower and its unbiblical doctrine to die rather than to receive a life-saving blood transfusion. Children have been published on their front cover of an Awake magazine dated May 22nd, 1994, praising them for sacrificing their lives for this organization, all dying, refusing life-saving medical treatment. They were only children. They should not have been made to, or even be considered to follow such a heinous doctrine, a doctrine or belief to die for. There is even a hospital liaison team that comes to the hospital to encourage a Jehovah's Witness patient to allow themselves to die, to kill themselves, refusing a life-saving blood transfusion, should they need to. Watchtower must be stopped. Be Free 2023. As we join together today, our hope is to bring exposure to the dangers in the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses and to demand change. Thank you so much for listening and allowing me to speak today. Remember, receiving life-saving blood is a personal choice. Preserve your souls alive. Blood saves lives. Say it with me. Preserve your souls alive. Blood saves lives. Preserve your souls alive. Blood saves lives. Preserve your souls alive. Blood saves lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. That is a major, major issue. A lot of lives have been lost due to that. Now, I didn't have my Wi-Fi ready, so I was going to give you guys a whole timeline of all the changes. But it's out there if you need to see it. But I'll just talk about it anyways a little bit. Once upon a time, did you know the Watchtower actually accepted blood transfusions?
Yes, sir.
Then they changed it. Then it was nothing at all. No blood at all. And then they changed it to allow, can you, do you mind bringing that up here? Yeah. That's good to show. Thank you so much. So for people that can see this, this is the cover that Felice was talking about. This was a real cover that the Watchtower put out in Awake. May 22nd, 1994. Real pictures of kids that lost their lives due to refusing blood. Can you imagine putting kids who lost their lives on the cover of a magazine in order to help encourage other kids to also give up their lives due to this policy that is constantly changing? Again, I was going to bring up the timeline, but no Wi-Fi. But if you look at the timeline, they have allowed blood, then they disallowed it. Then they allowed certain fractions. Then they allowed other fractions. Then they allowed other fractions. And in between all those changes, people are dying. Real people are dying. Real kids are dying. Not just numbers on a piece of paper. Actual people who had actual futures. Lost over a religious teaching that has no biblical background. This is their messed up interpretation, and people are suffering for it. Thank you so much. So we got to keep speaking about this stuff, and they got to be willing to accept people's choices as far as health goes. As Felice was saying, when I had my ACL surgery, I got to see it firsthand. When you go in for a surgery and they know you're a witness, they do indeed have a hospital liaison committee that comes there to try to pressure you into refusing blood. Now, you're already nervous to go into a surgery anyways. So imagine you're already nervous, and then you got these elders there trying to pressure you to give up your life. Are you really going to be able to say no in front of all those people pressuring you? With this organization that's so much about how other people see you, no, you're probably going to go along with it, which means you're probably going to be hurt. Again, this is a reality. This is not exaggeration. Now, before I invite up the next speaker, who's going to be Carla, I know she's here. I saw her this morning. If you want to start making your way up here, awesome. I just want to touch back on something Ivy was talking about the ruined potential. You know, I'm definitely a believer that we are all unique people, and so therefore we all have unique gifts. There is something that I can do that's going to be different than anybody else that does it. There's something that all of you can do that's going to be different than how anybody else would do that same thing. We all have our unique traits. So who knows? There could have been somebody who was born and raised a witness, who had the mindset, who had the natural talent to be able to find the cure for cancer. There might have been someone who was raised a witness, who had the mindset and the natural talent to be the next best NBA player, the next best movie star, the next best musical act, you name it. And yet that potential was lost because their organization told them, don't seek higher education and don't seek anything, any sort of high life for yourself in this system, because this system is passing away. We are in the last days of the last days, the last seconds of the last days. You know what they told me? Yeah, the end of they told me that I would not make it past 25 in this system. I'm 32 right now. So, and this is really unfortunate because people, this affects many different aspects of your life. For example, finances. Okay, as a 20-year-old who thought that I would not see 25, the way I handled money was not the way I would have handled it had I known I was going to be 32 someday, right? There's people out there who have made it to retirement age, who had nothing set up for themselves, who would have been able to enjoy a leisurely life, but instead they're having to work until the day that they die because they were in an organization that told them that the end of the world was coming and it would take away all their problems. But we got to be adults here, and we got to tackle the problems rather than thinking that they're just going to disappear. So let me invite up the next speaker here. Oh, there she is. All right.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. I'm Carla, and I'm a proud JW apostate. That used to be such a dirty word. I would cringe when I heard that word apostate, but now, no, I'm reclaiming that word. I'm really heartened to see so many people here today, and I'm proud to be here. It took me a long time to get here. It didn't really happen overnight, that's for sure. I was born in, but basically even as a kid, I was PMO, and I definitely was as a teenager. And I couldn't wait to get away from home, and I had to make a really difficult choice. It was either live my life of freedom by leaving home when I graduated high school, or stay there and have to, go into the pioneer work and then get married to somebody. I mean, that's really the only choices for women in the organization. They really keep us down, don't they? So, like many of you, I'm a truth seeker, and the truth that I'm here to talk about today is about the shunning. That's a truth. They really is. That's the truth that we're here to talk about, is that how much the shunning hurts people. And I witnessed that firsthand. When I was 10 years old, my father, who was an elder, was disfellowshipped by a corrupt elder body. He had discovered that they were doing some funny business with the congregation donation money. And he confronted them about it, and he was angry. And they didn't like it. And he was going to report them. So they disfellowshipped him. And I'm 10 years old, and we're uprooted because my family felt like they needed to move away from that town. So I'm uprooted at 10 years old, and I saw firsthand how hurtful that shunning was to my father. He was devastated. He had pioneered for years and years, full time, prior to my being born, prior to him getting married. And I saw the mental anguish, and it really affected me as a child. So for the next 3 years, it took him 3 years to get reinstated. He was never the same person after that. He was not the same person during those 3 years. And during that time, I definitely became rebellious. And during that time, there was an instance where, unfortunately, I think the stress and mental anguish and devastation that affected my father, he physically abused me. There are two types of shunning. There's soft shunning, and then there's really hard shunning. I think we all know how that goes. So when I left home in 1979, I stopped going to meetings. I had been baptized at 15, but my family would still talk to me. All of my family that were Jehovah's Witnesses would still talk to me, but only really pretty much when there would be an occasional gathering, or if I would go to an assembly so I could actually see family. But eventually I moved away so that I could live my life of freedom. But that meant that I also had to have another choice. I either had to be part of the Jehovah's Witness community to have family to help me as a single mom, or I could live my life as freedom. Those are the choices that we're always left with, isn't it? We can't have both in this organization. Cult experts will tell us that every single cult shuns, bar none. They do it. They do it as a means of control, to control their members and to control the people around their members, their families. You're still controlled by that shunning even when you're out, even when you're living your life of freedom. Shunning is bullying. Shunning is cruel. We should all have the right to religious freedom without having to choose our families or the freedom. Within the Jehovah's Witness community, we all know and we've seen the mental anguish firsthand that shunning causes. It's known to create mental breakdowns as well as the mental anguish, and yes, even kills. Shunning kills. So today, we call on the Watchtower Society to immediately stop their shunning practices. Respect human rights. Say it with me. Respect human rights. Respect human rights. Respect human rights. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Actually, let's say that more. Respect human rights. Respect human rights. Respect human rights. Respect human rights. So that's what this is. It is human rights. You should have the right to change your religion. For anybody out of these high control groups, when you want to change your religion, it's as simple as researching it and joining in. That's it. But for groups like the Witnesses and other groups like them, it's not that simple. To leave means leaving everybody you care about. Now, I don't take it for granted the fact that I actually had it a lot easier than many of you out there. Because when I left, my family was already out. I was the last one in. So I didn't have to go through the experience of having my family shun me like many of you guys do. However, I did have all of my friends shun me. And just by that experience, there were times I was so low, I literally could not put it into words how I was feeling. There's times when I laid in bed actually wondering if I really wanted to see the next day or not. That's how low they can make you feel. So I don't ever take it for granted the fact that even with, again, I just had to deal with the friends shunning me. But with family on top of that, it's gotta be 100 times harder. Especially when it's with your own kids, your grandkids. This is horrible for people. Yeah. So, let me invite up the next speaker, who is Wendell.
You all don't recognize, or perhaps you do, how amazing you all look. And because of the stand that we have taken to walk away from the harmful practices of the Watchtower, you really are the bravest people on the earth. And I believe that from the bottom of my heart. Now, it was about a month and a half ago, on September 11th, 2023, that this country commemorated one of the most devastating attacks ever to happen upon the United States, and that was the 9/11 attacks in 2001. Now, many of us remember it was really a pristine, beautiful Tuesday morning that turned into a horrific nightmare that even now we deal with on a regular basis. Isn't that true? So September 11th is a day that actually goes down with remembrance for this country and really all over the world. But for me personally, September 11th has another layer to it, another sad remembrance. And this just happened September 11th, 2022. You see, I had voluntarily left the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses. I didn't agree with the policies, the fundamental practices, and the theology. And that's really a human right that each and every one of us has, that we should be able to walk away freely. Now, on the other hand, all of my family, my brothers, my sisters, cousins, aunts, and everything, they were still in the organization, and I understood the ramifications And I didn't bother them at all under any circumstances because I knew what their stance would be. But this really hit home for me. It was September 11th of last year, and I was going through a very, very difficult time, probably one of the most difficult times I've ever gone through throughout my life. And I just reached out to one of my siblings just to let them know what I was going through. I didn't ask for help. I wasn't asking for them to listen. I just wanted them to be aware of the difficulties I was going through. Well, the message I got back from this sibling was this: as much as I or we love you, we want nothing to do with you until you come back to Jehovah, they said. And you know what? It was at that time I recognized that, boy, I could actually be dying in a ditch and they wouldn't help. And that was a strong realization of the damage that this policy does. But it's not hyperbole. Many of us have gone through this and even worse. Well, you know, when I first got here a couple hours ago, the nice gentleman that I met, his name was Tim. And he came up to me and he goes, well, exactly, what is shunning? What is shunning? I don't know what that is. It's interesting that when you actually talk to people about it, it's totally preposterous. They don't believe it. But I'm going to give the definition directly from the Watchtower, because isn't it true that you evil apostates, you twist their words, you flip them around, you do your own definition so that they look good. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pull out my notes. I'm going to read to you exactly what the shunning policy is. So now I got to take my glasses off in order to see. Guided by Holy Spirit. Okay. Here it is right here. From Jehovah's Witnesses publication, How to Remain in God's Love, published in 2017, page 241. It says this, and I quote, disfellowshipping, and again, keep in mind that this also applies to those who have voluntarily disassociated themselves. Disfellowshipping is applicable to a member who voluntarily leaves or disassociates. When someone who has seriously sinned and does not repent and refuses to follow Jehovah's standards, he can no longer be a member of the congregation. He needs to be disfellowshipped. When someone is disfellowshipped, we have no more dealings with that person, and we stop talking to him. And then they give a biblical record from 3 John where it says, if anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, do not receive him into your home or say a greeting to him. And this is unquote. This is, again, Jehovah's Witnesses' definition of shunning. And they'll say, oh, this is a loving provision. Masterminds of gaslighting. Notice this. Now, this is from the September 15th, 1981 Watchtower on page 25. It says this. When it comes to dealing with a person who is dissociated or disfellowship, it says a simple hello to someone can be the first step that develops into a conversation and maybe even a friendship. Would we want to take that first step with a disfellowship person? Those are stunning, crazy words. But then you say, well, that was more than 40 years ago. Here we are in 2023, just about on 2024. Surely those words can't apply. Well, let's see. Fast forward, September 21st, issue of the Watchtower magazine on page 30. It told Jehovah's Witnesses, an unrepentant sinner, this is really crazy. An unrepentant sinner is like a person who has a highly contagious and infectious disease, and they need to be quarantined in order to protect others from getting sick. So 40 years later, the Watchtower doubled down, and they even highlighted that, guess what? You're like an infectious disease. And let's not forget, this was right during the height of COVID. Well, you know, some people might say, like my friend Tim, who I met earlier, he might say, well, surely this can't apply to family members. I mean, family is family, human rights. Everyone has a right to have an open and honest and genuine relationship with their family. Again, let's let the Watchtower answer for this. From the October 2017 issue of the Watchtower, page 16, it says, despite our pain of heart, We must avoid normal contact with a disfellowship family member, either by telephone, text messages, letters, emails, or social media. That's their words. It's not an apostate who's screaming mad, because when you think about it, our goal is not to bring anyone away from the organization, right? I mean, that's your right. That's the last thing that we want to do. Leaving is a very personal decision with its own types of challenges that we all are willing to take. And those of us who do, you're courageous individuals. But those of us who may have to live, as we said, that chemo life, you also are courageous individuals. You're also courageous. Well, you know, what has been actually the result? What has been the result of isolating a person from community that they once have been part of for years? Now, I'm going to give you a little background on myself. My great-grandmother was in this. My grandmother was in this. My parents are gone, but my mother's oldest sister, she was baptized in 1948, 75 years ago, okay? And now they say, exercise patience. Whatever. Exercise patience. Well, what has been the results of families breaking each other apart? Well, we know grandparents that have never met their grandchildren, right? We know families who have had no contact with each other for decades. I've spoken to people who've actually come back to Jehovah's Witnesses just for the sole purpose of being able to communicate with their families. We know of cases of very young ones who were thrown out of their houses at a very young age, at an age that there's no way you could take care of themselves, all because they were disfellowshipped. And they have been shunned and continue to be shunned even decades later. Now, I'm going to say this. The leadership of Jehovah's Witnesses, you have a right to determine your interpretation of Scripture. That's your right. That's your right. But they also have to realize that their policies are death dealing. Their policies have actually literally killed individuals. And I think we'd be fooling ourselves if we really think that the leadership might change the shunning policy. Well, we're gathered here to let as many people know as possible to become aware of the mental, emotional, physical damage that shunning and disfellowship has caused. Please be aware of this, you out in the public, as well as those who also are here advocates of it. And just say this with me. Shunning violates human rights. Come on. Shunning violates human rights. Shunning violates human rights. Shunning violates human rights. Thank you all so much for your time.
All right, we've got a couple more. So next I want to invite up Albert to speak. Take your time, you're good. While he's coming up, I'll just say it's not really an open mic. We have the speakers pre-selected just to make sure that we really get our message across the way that we want to present ourselves. So that being said, if you came here wanting to speak and you weren't able to, or perhaps you weren't planning on speaking, but after being here, you get inspired to, after the event, come find me, and I'm gonna have some openings on that camera there. I'm shooting another video that's gonna capture the highlights. So we'll put you at the end of that video. That way you have a chance to share your voice too. So here's Albert.
How you guys doing? I listen to most of you guys' show. I have a YouTube channel, but it's more. Oh, you said you go. Yeah. But it's more of it's therapy for me to talk on my channel. It helps me because I still have family that's in. My wife, my kids. They're still in, and I'm trying my best. But I retired here as a police officer in Washington, D.C. as a sergeant, right up in one of these places up here. It was the hood. But anyway, listen, what I did was I did some investigation, and what really bothers me is that I have almost 100 men that were elders, ministerial servants, that committed these are crimes and not reported, and then left in these congregations to commit more. Some of these guys have more than 8 victims. It's multiple victims. But when I got into this and I saw what the governing body, that's when they were in Brooklyn, right? That Greenless, it's right here. He was molesting a 10-year-old. This guy here, he says Chitty, I call him Shitty, but I mean, this is governing body members. Loach was approached and said, hey, did nothing. Jarrah, same way, and so does this guy here, Barr. But what I want to tell you is that, real quick though, my whole thing is we need to pass laws. First of all, like we were talking about earlier, the law for every state to be a mandated state to report. That should be no question. And then what we need, people, I talk to them, I says, we need that database. We don't want the database of people who are investigated for stealing a bag of chips. What we want is the ones that confessed to pedophilia. Those are the ones we want, because we don't have that. The congregants don't know. And what happens is these guys are still roaming around. I got 2 beautiful grandkids that just, one's 2 and my baby girl just born. They're gonna be sitting in these halls, and there you don't know who in there is a confessed pedophile. This doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? And this is supposed to be a loving organization. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And being a victim of this crime, let me tell you something, you guys. These guys don't stop. This is not something, they continue and continue. So we have to do something to protect our children. We have to. And this is why I was doing this, and it actually helps me. So I got all this list, and all the ones in yellow, these are elders. These are all elders. And then you got this clown that comes up and says, we don't have a problem. You know what I mean? This is sad, man. And just like they are, they're wolves in sheep clothing. But anyway, I don't want to go on. But I appreciate you guys' channels. I get into them.
Love you, bro.
My is more of a, I get to vent and rant and talk about my situation with my family. And hopefully one day maybe they'll see. But Jesus, that indoctrination is real, man. It's real. This is PTSD number. I mean, so anyway, thank you guys, and I appreciate all y'all, and thank you.
Thank you so much for that, and thank you for all the research that you've done to find those people. And yeah, we got to know this stuff. We got to know who these people are, and the world deserves to know who these people are. This is why we're doing this way. We're not talking to the Watchtower here. They don't listen. We've been doing, activists have been going on for years, longer than I've been alive. They don't listen. So we got to do it this way to speak to the general public and reach the people that really deserve to know this stuff. Because as he's bringing out, these are known pedophiles who are allowed to run around. Known pedophiles are allowed to run around. Just think about that for a second. Outside of the religious groups, for that same crime, you go to jail. So that makes no sense to me, that if you're in a religious group, you get away with it. If you're not, you go to jail. Please make that make sense. That should not belong in this country where we are in history. That has no place. We got to get things equalized. The same crime should fit the same punishment for everybody, regardless of religion. So the next speaker is Larry. Oh, here he is.
stay alive till 75. A very important Secretary of State said, this world will be ungovernable and ungoverned by 1985. 1914 is when Christ will return and the saints will be raptured up to heaven. My name is Larry. I came all the way from New Jersey to be here. Just a little brief history of my own history. I was born into the truth. When I graduated high school, I immediately full-time pioneered for 3 years. Then I went to Brooklyn Bethel for another 5 years. And of course, I was an elder in a local congregation in the Bronx, New York. Charlie Russell was a 19th century religious crank and a religious quack. Joe Rutherford was a tyrant, an alcoholic, and a drunk in that order. And by the way, speaking of Joe Rutherford, do you think he really got over with that Beth Sarim mansion that he lived in? And this was during the Great Depression, and he lived in luxury in that mansion in San Diego. He had not one, but 2 Cadillacs, 2 luxury Cadillacs, 16-cylinder Cadillacs. I think he did get over pretty well. Fred Franz was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. When I was at Bethel, because of the particular job that I had, I got to know all the members of the governing body, even personally, some of them. I knew Fred Franz very well, and I also knew Raymond Franz very well. Just a couple little interesting tidbits about Raymond Franz. At Bethel, we had dish duty, and none of the higher-ups at Bethel would ever do dish duty. They were exempt. Except Raymond Franz would make it a point to be humble and always take his dish duty, just like all the new boys. Also, I'll tell you something about Raymond Franz that's interesting. When I was at Bethel, I needed to buy a refrigerator, and I ended up buying one from Raymond Franz for $80 to put in my room. And I went over to their room, to Cynthia and Ray's room, to talk to them about the refrigerator. And I asked him, well, why are you selling it? And Cynthia Franz told me, well, sometimes the refrigerator comes on, it makes like a little humming noise, or a little vibration noise. And Ray concentrates so much that disturbs him, so he wants to sell the refrigerator. Just a little couple tidbits about what a great man Raymond Franz was. Don't let Jehovah's Witnesses bamboozle you. Don't let them hoodwink you. Don't let them fool you. There is no such thing as the new world. There's no such thing as everlasting life on this earth. That's pie in the sky. Instead of believing in that, we should use our lives now to achieve happiness, achievement, and accomplishment. Be all you can be now. So, what should our message be to the many people that are fine Jehovah's Witnesses? Well, it's very simple. Our message to them should be, think for yourself. Don't let anybody else take over your thinking and do your thinking for you. Live your life for yourself. Finally, we could say to them, be free, breathe free, spread your wings wide, soar like the eagle.
Yeah, that's a very good message there. Yeah, please use the life that you have. No more waiting to be happy. That is such a bad way to live. You can be happy now. Happiness is a choice. You just have to make it. That's it. So the next speaker, is it Fran and Joe or just Joe? Oh, just Joe? Okay. When you're ready, whenever you're ready. Oh, both you guys. Okay, cool. Awesome.
I think we're the first couple to come up here. And the reason why I'm out is because of this guy.
Well, the reason why we're out is because of you guys and others. And I truly appreciate that. What we're seeking to do is uniting. Oh boy, maybe you give it a better voice.
What we're seeking to do is to unite all of the XJWs around the world. We have a program called The Outside Story. We're on Rick Fearon's every other Saturday night. People call in. We've connected people, and they will talk for 4 hours. Somebody from California will talk to somebody in Long Island. They will just talk because we have trauma bonding. Now I'm getting nervous.
The true help that anyone's going to find is by helping each other. It really is. And you're doing it here, and we see individuals doing it with each other. And you need to continue that. You really do. And everything and anything that you're speaking out with now, you have to speak out where you are. It's the only way that's going to work. It really is. So anything you can do, as small as it is, it's not small. It added together, it's going to be the thing that works. Our 4 children that are shunning us, they're going to find out what they need to do from the people around them. Well, our goal is to inform the people around them so that they can tell them. And it's a process, and it will work. It will work, but it takes time.
We were in for 36 years. We are not born in. We came in, we were Catholic. We were looking for the true religion. We were looking for somebody that was teaching the Bible so that we could bring our 4 children up. I was pregnant for the youngest. Our oldest was less than 5. Right now, they're 43, they're 40, they're 38, 41, and now they are shunning us. But we have so many adopted children all around that feel that we are their mother and father because we will not shun you.
That's the kind of people we need more of. You're actually highlighting on something I was going to say at the closing, but I'll get to that later. So we got a couple more speakers. The next is Selena. You want it on or off?
I'll take it out. Hi, I'm Dr. Selena Vertolomo. You might know me from a really awkward video where I went looking for Toni Morris. I found him. I wanted to come out today to show support because I grew up in a different section of the Watchtower. I don't know that a lot of people are aware that the Jehovah's Witnesses are a tiered organization. So a lot of the information that I have is different from the information that a lot of other people have, and that's why the unity is so important, because everybody has a piece of the puzzle that allows this to come together the right way, if that makes sense. I wanted to bring attention to the CSA survivors. My CSA began at 6 months old, continued until I was 11 years old, and it was known by 37 elders and all of the governing body. It was personally covered by Toni Morris. My family was, they were threatened and intimidated and to silence for many years by Toni Morris. And I just got really sick of it. So that's why I drove to Lumberton to let them know where he was. I do not in any way condone violence. I don't condone any crazy behavior. We got to keep it peaceful. I just wanted to talk to him for a second because the effects that this organization has had on our families and on our children have been devastating. So I'm hoping that more CSA survivors feel more comfortable coming out to talk about it. It is like the most humiliating and embarrassing thing you could possibly have to talk about. And I just want everybody to know that it's not your shame to carry, it's theirs. And the more that you open that up and you let go of that shame, the more the crimes are able to be seen by the general public and the more progress we can make.
Yeah, let's not keep quiet about this stuff. We have to keep letting our voices be heard. So last speaker, once again, invite up Malia. She has some more things to say.
My emotions got the best of me, so I didn't get to say everything I wanted to earlier, but I wanted to bring out the fact that Jehovah's Witnesses are going to say that this is persecution, right? We all know that. It's on Halloween, so look at what Satan's doing, right? But this isn't persecution. This is holding them accountable for what they're doing, the abuse that's going on, not just with children, but with men and women worldwide, every day. And I wanted to mention that after I became an adult and I had kids, and they were the ages that I was when I was molested, I was like, what? Like, I carried so much shame and guilt that I went and got help. And in my late 30s, I confronted the elders about my abuse. My father even appealed the decision for me to be disfellowshipped for my own abuse, and I got a letter straight from the governing body saying that I should be disfellowshipped. When I confronted these elders about my abuse, and my brother-in-law and my sister, I was asked if I could forgive them so that they could be in positions of authority over children. One of my abusers is a ministerial servant, still today. So by doing this, we're having a voice for those kids. And I have a program called Overcoming Religious Trauma, where I help people have a voice and share. And it's the best thing that I can do is use my experience that was terrible and it was horrific to go through. I had days I didn't want to go on, but that relates me to so many that don't know how to talk about it. And so we need to keep doing this. We need to keep sharing and keep talking and protect those kids. So let's chant that again because I couldn't get through the first one, but let's say it again. So say it with me. Protect the children.
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 Thank you.
Wow. Big crowd today, actually. Jeez. And I'm not sure how many are online, but once again, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for everybody watching online. This was amazing. This was historic. And perhaps this will be the first step in getting some real change. That not only affects Jehovah's Witnesses, but all high control religious groups and non-religious groups, because we got to think about everybody. If we only think about our own people, we're just as bad as them. So we got to think about everybody here, because we got cousins and brothers and sisters in other religions, and you'd be very surprised how similar they all are, like they're reading the same book almost. So Before we go here, I just want to ask you guys to do 3 things for you, please. Number 1, talk to your senators. You can email them. You can go the old-fashioned way, do letter writing. Some of them you can even call if you got stamps. But it's very, 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 very important that we get those messages to those people, to the people that are in that house right there, to the people that are in the Capitol, whatever direction that is, somewhere out there somewhere. It's here. We got to get these messages to them because they have the power to change the rules. They have the power to get mandatory reporting required in all 50 states. Let's say that again. Mandatory reporting in all 50 states. 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 Again, there's no reason not to do it. We're not in the 1920s anymore. Let's bring things into modern times here. Let's protect the children, not keep protecting these organizations' reputation. Let's protect the children, the next generation. Because there's something, I forget the name of it, but, trauma chain, that's the name of it. There's something called trauma chain. So we talked a lot about CSA issues here. A lot of times, the very same people that are doing the abuse were also abused. So as we report this stuff, as we get mandatory reporting in all 50 states, we can not only prevent more children from being abused, we can make sure that the people that are doing the abuse get the correct rehabilitation. That way we can break that chain. Very, very important. So please contact your senators. We got to get this message to them. Number 2, tell your story. Just like someone was saying, let's not be quiet about this. Share your story. It's not fun to talk about. I know. Sometimes after I do a video, I just gotta practically take a nap after that, you know? It can take a lot out of you sometimes, talking about these type of things. But it's very, very, very important, that we get these messages out there. So please tell your story. The more united voices we have, the more powerful we are. The more we cannot be ignored. So add your voice, go on YouTube, tell your story. If you don't want to start your own channel, by all means, find a YouTuber that you like and see if you can join up on them. Go on their channel, tell your interview, tell your story. My door's open, JW Diaries. You want to tell your story? Send me an email. It's at the end of every single video after the camera cuts. I'd be more than happy, as long as you can speak respectfully, to help you get your story out there. You can do it on other social media channels. Go on TikTok. I don't know if I could say TikTok in front of the White House, but but whatever social media channel is most comfortable for you, get your message out there. Not just, Reddit is awesome, but on Reddit, we're talking to ourselves. So we got to get these messages out there beyond our own group. This is why YouTube is, and things like that are important, because people that have never heard of our message, people that have never been witnesses before, can go on there and see what's going on in these organizations. And you never know how someone's story is going to affect another person. You never know who knows someone who knows someone. So please, let's get our stories out there. Now, the third thing, it's another very important one. Let's please remain united as a community. Let's drop the drama and infighting. It's very important that we come together and unify. Again, you see where we're at right now? You see what we're doing? You see how many people we have here? And not even people online. We can't even see them.
It's a lot.
This is why this can happen, because we came together united for a common cause and made this happen. This is how we get stuff done. We have to remain united. So who cares? People are going to believe different things. Who cares about who believes in God and who's an atheist? Let's drop that stuff, seriously. Let's drop the drama. Let's drop the drama. It makes no sense because we all came from a very similar thing. You know, all of us have different stories, all of us have different experiences from within the organization, but we all know what it was like to be a witness. People that were not in there, they don't know what it was like. So since we have that understanding, we have that common ground, let's just stick to that, please. Let's stop the infighting, let's just stick to that. So let's support one another, let's remain united. Shout out to everybody online. Shout out to the XJW group. Be cool to each other. That's where I woke up from. So much love to you guys. Again, tell your story. And again, tell the senators. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the organizer of this event. Thank you to the people online. Thank you to the speakers. I can't say this enough. Thank you, 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 thank you to all of you. Seriously. Now, before we end this, let's just say again, all religions must respect human rights. 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 Protect the children, not your reputation. 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 Mandatory reporting for all 50 states. 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 Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being here. This was awesome. Is Mike here? Where's Mike at? Because we got, not here yet? Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Before we close, let's have Rick come speak one more time.
I just want to make one announcement that tonight I'll be doing a live broadcast from my hotel room at 7 o'clock. So everybody's invited. I'm staying at the Plaza Hotel. It's about a 10-minute walk from here. I'll buy pizza for everybody if you want to come. So if you want to come and join us, we'll be at the Plaza Hotel. I'm on 7th floor. It's 713. That's the number of the room. So if you'd like to come, I'd love to have you come and be on the program. We can do some live interviews, and you're all welcome. So I don't know if we can fit everyone in the room. That's the only problem. So we'll try to do the best we can. But I want to thank the organizers of this today. This is the largest protest ever in the history of the Jehovah's Witnesses. I've counted. It's hard to count the people because everybody's walking around and moving around. But I counted about 153 people. So that's not too bad. That's very, very good. So I really, you made my day. All these people coming out. You made Justin's day. Wally, he's been running all around the place. He's doing a great job. But thank you, the organizers, and let's do this again sometime. Let's do another protest, right? Online, okay. We had 200 at one time, 252 online.
I got 600.
So that wasn't too bad. That was just on my channel. So they had our channels going here as well. So thank you very much, Justin.
Thank you so much.
My telephone number on this card right here. If you think you can make it tonight, you want my number, call me. I'll give you a card.
Okay, and then Wally wanted to say something real quick. So.
Hello. I know you guys have already heard from everybody and excellent speakers and all that great stuff. Some of you might not know I've been on like a road trip across the country. I'm going to be on the road for like 23 days. If you guys want to be part of that story, just come and find me. I'd like to interview or just get some quick little snippets because I am going to be putting this all together for like this giant project that I have burbling in my head. Anyway, that's it. You're beautiful people. Much love.
Test. Okay, we're good. You didn't break it. All right, well, yeah. Well, once again, thank you so much for being here. Again, if you wanted to speak but weren't able to, or if you weren't planning to speak but you feel inspired to, come find me. Still got room on my SD card there. I'm making a highlights video right now, so you can be at the end of it. Again, as long as you can speak respectfully, I think we have made our mission here clear. I think we made the tone here clear. So as long as you can stay with that mission and with that tone, you are more than welcome to go at the end of the video for this highlight video. So once again, thanks for everybody for being here. The reason I was asking for a mic, he is a XJW, and he has a promotion company. So he has been kind enough to get an entire restaurant reserved for us. They'll be having live music and the whole thing. So if you would like to go to that, that is at Bus Boys and Poets at 2004 Martin Luther King Avenue Southeast, Washington, D.C. 20020. So once again, it's at Bus Boys and Poets because there's a lot of them around the area. So this specific one is at 2004 Martin Luther King Avenue Southeast, Washington, D.C. 20020. One more time for people. 2004 Martin Luther King Avenue Southeast, Washington, D.C. 20020. If you look it up, it should come up on your phone. So that doors will be open at 7 o'clock, and it's first come, first serve. For our event, everybody is able to get in for free. There's a QR code when you enter where you're able to donate to our cause. Otherwise, I hope to see some of you there. And once again, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for making this a success. And hopefully this is just the beginning of something more.
Hey, Justin, real quick, can you have everybody that's here to come in here and take a picture?
Oh, yeah.
Can you ask them to come with the signs? Yeah. Real quick.
Yeah, I'll just say it really quick. I'll just say thank you for everybody. Hey, thank you everybody for coming. Thanks for support online. And we'll see what happens in the future. So stay tuned. Thank you so much. Thank you. Really. You could have been doing anything. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you guys.